be able to hunt for more eggs, and those eggs will have stuff that you'll actually be able to keep. This you had to get back. For those of you who had the opportunity to participate, we did a lot during this Holy Week. We had a Seder meal where we remembered what Jesus did at the Passover meal when he had it with his disciples. We then had a Maundy, Thursday service where we had foot washing. Remember of humility and of what Jesus did for us and what we're preparing for us to experience today in the glory of Easter. On Good Friday, we had a service where we venerated the cross, and then when we went over to Zion and Eastover, we did the Stations of the Cross, where in a little bit different form, we remembered, like we did this morning with the eggs, the story of Jesus' death on the cross. And then yesterday, we had a short service trying to grasp a little bit of what it would have felt like in that tension, that time in between Jesus' death and resurrection, what people were thinking, what the whole world is thinking. And in that, we were able to relate just a little bit as well to the already and the not yet that we experience now. The already of Jesus Christ's resurrection from the dead, and the not yet of the hope that is still to come. The life after death. Not just a continuing and a hope of heaven, but a hope of a new heaven and a new earth and new bodies that don't wear out, that don't fade, where we don't have to worry about things like high blood pressure and diabetes and broken knees and twisted ankles. That we can all run like Usain Bolt, that we can all swim like Michael Phelps, that we can all flippy-flop like the Ham brothers or Shannon Miller. That we have these great, wonderful super bodies that we get to look forward to. That not yet that has occurred. In Corinth, they had a difficulty grasping the idea of resurrection. And that's not an uncommon thing today in our world, the idea of a bodily resurrection. Now, in Corinth, it was very common, and most people believed that there was an afterlife. That our souls went somewhere and did something, and for many, that's what they hoped for and longed for. Because they had the idea in Corinth that flesh was bad, and that they wanted to attain the Spirit. And so Paul talks about the resurrection here as being key and important. Not just the resurrection of Jesus that day, but the hope, the new hope of new bodies, and resurrection as a bodily resurrection. So he begins, "Now, brothers, I want to remind you of the gospel I preached to you, which you received and on which you have taken your stand. By this gospel you are saved, if you hold firmly to the word I preached to you. Otherwise, you have believed in vain." He's reminding them, hold on to this, because just like today, then you could have a conversation with someone and say that Jesus Christ died on the cross and he rose again. And he died on the cross for us, and he conquered death so that we have nothing to be afraid of. And some people will look at us and be like, you believe that stuff? You really believe that stuff, that resurrection is possible? Don't you know what happens to your body? Or, what if you're cremated? God's a creative God. He made us out of dust. He can make our new bodies as well. But there's another part of this as we get into conversations with people. If you've ever been in a conversation with someone who loves to debate, they'll twist you around and twist you around like a pretzel as you're talking to them, taking your words and making them sound like nothing like you originally said to them. So we can get confused. And then there's the other thing where if that doesn't happen to us, sometimes when somebody doesn't believe, we can go along with them just because we want to be liked. And we can agree with what they're saying. But Paul is saying that you have to hold firmly to the word I preach to you. That you have to keep it for yourself and hold strongly to it. And when somebody else tries to come to you and says that what you believe cannot possibly be true, you have to hold firmly to it. And to say, I love you, but I can't agree with you. Jesus Christ died for me, and if I don't believe in the resurrection, there's no hope. Because the resurrection is the basis of our being able to be saved. We must take a stand for something in the fact. And he says right here, for what I received I pass on to you as the first importance. That Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures. That he was buried. That he was raised on the third day according to the Scriptures. And that he appeared to Peter and then to the 12. And this isn't just talking about the gospel passages, because this was written before those. That was oral tradition of the Gospels. This is talking about the stories in Isaiah, the predictions in Genesis, in Daniel, in Hosea, in Zephaniah. That's the scriptures that he's talking about. That not only did it happen, but it was predicted hundreds and hundreds of years before. And that he appeared to Peter and then the 12, and after that he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers at the same time, most of whom are still living, though some have fallen asleep. Appearing to the 12, appearing to so many other people as well, in order to have witnesses. So that people can't just argue that it's a story you made up, or was mass hallucination, or something of that sort, but rather there were witnesses, and a lot of them, and you can go find someone. Then he appeared to James and then to all the apostles. And last of all, he appeared to me also as to one abnormally born, or untimely born. Jesus appeared to him after he had been resurrected from the dead. And so he would still be able to be an apostle because he appeared to him. And he believed in him. And he proclaimed the hope not just to the Jews, but to the Gentiles, to the whole world, so that we can have hope as well. Life after death is the hope that we have. For I am the least of the apostles, do not even deserve to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. By the grace of God I am what I am, and his grace to me was not without effect. No, I worked harder than all of them. Yet not I, but the grace of God that was in me. Whether then it was I or they, this is what we preach, this is what you believed. Paul looks at himself and sees that he is the least of the apostles. Not because of what he's done, but because of what he did. And for many of us, we look back at our lives and we say, how can we possibly be a witness after all that I've done? How can I be credible? How can I be believed? But the fact of the matter for Paul and for us is that's in the very heart of it. That if God can take me, poor wretched me, flawed me, and to be able to reach others, and to be saved, and to not have to wallow in that, there can be hope for others as well. And it all comes in the hope of the resurrection and the message of the resurrection. If there is no resurrection, then there's no message at all. There is no Christianity at all. Jesus Christ had to die, and he had to conquer death as well. Otherwise, there is no hope. Otherwise, there's nothing for us to look forward to. With the resurrection, there's a message of hope. And it is the way for us to go and the way for all men, for all people to have hope. And so in that hope, we ask, what is it that we must do? How can we live out that faith? How can we let people know about the love of Christ? The first thing is to love others, and that's in a way of a demonstration of love. In the next couple of weeks, we'll have a couple of opportunities for some training and some practical work. This Saturday is an opportunity for anyone who would like to go and be trained and to learn about Stephen's ministry. Stephen's ministry is an opportunity for people to learn how to reach out to people when they're hurting and things are the toughest, and how to work with myself then to try to provide them help. Next week, in the 21st, we have an opportunity for all who would like to take part in it to help with a blitz build in town with an organization called Homeworks. For $25 to help provide supplies and feed yourself lunch, you can go and make a practical difference. You just go to their website, indicate the skills that you have, tell them that you're from St. John's, Congaree, and you'll be put to work in the best possible way to make a tangible difference. Another thing to do to demonstrate love and to show you're caring is to spend time with each other. To go and to meet with someone you haven't seen for a while, take them out to dinner. The vestry and their families are going to go out to dinner tomorrow night in lieu of a business meeting in order to get to know one another as families a little bit better. And not in the bulletin, but another opportunity for spending time with each other is next week. I'm planning to go to a baseball game at steering school, so kids, you won't be able to go. But I'd like to meet with as many who would like to go after morning prayer and drive up to Charlotte to catch a Knights game during the day. And then there's a case of just helping and being innovative. Simple things that you can do to reach out to people every day for things that you will only get thanked for at that moment and nobody will know anything about. That's demonstration of love and caring. One of the things that you can do, carry around granola bars. Carry around bottles of water so that when you're driving and you're at one of those times when you're going on the interstate and somebody's there with a sign saying hungry, thirsty, you can give them some food, some water. Pray for God to open doors of opportunity for you to reach people. A lot of times we say that we haven't had opportunities to speak to people who don't know God. The problem that we often have, it's kind of like Mary did in the gospel, when we're not looking, and our eyes are blinded. See, Mary was there, standing at the grave, looking inside and seeing only the empty grave, wondering what happened to Jesus, wondering what happened to his body. And while he's speaking to her, she's crying and so sad that she cannot see. And then even so, he's over here and she's looking over here at the grave. She's not fixing her eyes on Jesus. She's not focusing on him. She doesn't know it's Jesus. She was focusing on what had happened, not on the hope and not on the promises. We have to remember to keep our eyes open, keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, and he will guide us in how we are to go. To be like Mary in this case, one example will be for somebody to tell you about a great band, say Skillet, and instead of going to where their concert's going to be, you go to where their concert was. And you stand there and say, they're not that good. It's because you haven't heard them. We must fix our eyes on Jesus. We must keep our eyes on His promises. Even when we're sad, even when we're broken, even when things seem to be at their worst. We have hope when we have Jesus. And Jesus Christ is not dead. He's alive. Amen.